Hello everybody, Felix here, and I wanted to make my own Lockerless guide because I felt like it. This guide is going to assume you already know the bare basics of pressure, like how to avoid every entity, but I'll still explain a few concepts as well. Anyways, without further ado, here's my guide. Before talking about anything else, first it's important to understand how node monster pathing works. In the most basic terms, node monsters will always take the shortest route to wherever the next door is. Most of the time they avoid obstacles like rocks and walls and will only go on a path the player can use too, but there are a few arbitrary exceptions to this rule, especially when it comes to rocks for whatever reason. Unfortunately, figuring this out can be a lot of trial and error. A good general rule of thumb to figuring out the node monster path in a specific room is to try to get something other than Pinky or Pandemonium to spawn in that room, and then look at which lights were broken by the node monster. Wherever the lights were broken is where it'll go in that room, but just keep in mind that if you encounter a variant of the same room, or if the door is in a different spot, the pathing probably changed. Also, if you ever encounter a room where there's two equally sized paths to the next door, you will unfortunately have to gamble with a 50-50. Node monsters used to always path to the right in these rooms, but recently I've seen that behavior change, and now it seems to be actually random. So now we need to talk about when node monsters will actually spawn, since it's not completely random. First, node monsters can only spawn if the two most recently opened doors lead to light rooms. Yes, that means there needs to be 2 light rooms in a row for something to spawn. There is currently a bug where something can spawn like a few seconds after opening a dark room, but in my experience it seems to be pretty uncommon. When a node monster spawns, there's actually 2 different methods for it to do so. These are node spawns and timer spawns. By the way, I don't think node spawns is an official term or anything, that's just how I tend to refer to them. Anyways, node spawns are when a node monster spawns by you opening the door to the next room. These can happen at any point after door 5 and are pretty self-explanatory. Also, front anglers will only ever occur as node spawns. Next, there's this thing called a timer spawn. For the rest of this video, I'm going to call them late flickers because that's just how I refer to them, but just know I'm referring to timer spawns. Anyways, there's an invisible countdown you can't see, and when it reaches 0, then something spawns. The countdown is completely inactive before door 19, which means that until door 18, you will only encounter node spawns. Also, the time for each countdown is completely randomized, so I can't tell you exactly how long it is, but I can tell you that in my experience, it tends to be about 5 minutes. There's also a few rooms that completely pause the countdown, and while I don't have the complete list, they're usually long rooms where you're completely exposed, like lava rooms. If a node monster spawned by any method is currently active, the timer is completely paused, which you can use to your advantage if you're brave enough to follow a node monster. Also, Pinky and Pandemonium do not reset the timer, so something can potentially spawn basically as soon as they despawn. Also, another interesting note is how node monsters behave right after spawning. After the lights flicker, the node monster will spawn 5 rooms behind you. Usually the node monster will kind of sit in place for a few seconds before moving, but Chainsmoker actually acts a bit differently and will start moving immediately. You can use the time it takes for the node monster to reach you to your advantage and find a hiding spot during this time. However, right after searchlights, node monsters spawn in the pipe room regardless of how few doors you've opened after that point, so you will have a very short window of time to react for a few rooms. Of course, front anglers act completely differently from all of this. Instead, they will spawn 1 room ahead of the door you just opened, so you have a lot less time to react. Do not open the next door, since you'll pretty much instantly die in every circumstance. Unfortunately, this does also mean that if you don't have a hiding spot immediately available to you, that your run will probably end. I also wanted to dedicate a little side tangent to Pandemonium spawns in particular, since it works a little differently from every other node monster. First of all, it can only spawn after door 19, so you at least get a few rooms for free before you have to worry about it. Second of all, it can only spawn once in the normal game and once in the Ridge for a total of 2 potential encounters in your run. With all those mechanics out of the way, now let's actually talk about playing the game. However, before you hop into a run, make sure you have def mode enabled. It helps out a lot, trust me. Okay, now for the actual gameplay. The first thing you'll want to do in your Lockerless run is to have a good setup of items. My number one recommendation is to buy as much sprint as you possibly can, and a light source of your choosing is also pretty helpful. You'll probably be doing quite a few attempts before getting the badge since it's all RNG based, so your setup should be pretty cheap so you're not wasting all your kroner. Some people also recommend buying code breachers for the Ridge, but most runs are not going to make it that far, and Sebastian usually sells them anyway, so you can just buy one from him. Once you're actually in the game, since nothing can spawn until door 5, you should pretty much always loot the first few rooms. You can also pretty safely loot until you open door 19. After that, unless you have a nearby hiding spot or are waiting for a late flicker, looting can be pretty risky and you probably won't have a lot of great opportunities to do so. It's pretty much up to you to decide how frequently you want to stop and loot, since it can slow down a run by a lot, but it can also help out quite a bit. When it comes to moving around, you should pretty much revolve all of your movement around safe spots. If there's one within walking distance, always go back to it after you open a door that might spawn something. Before door 19, you can also just immediately turn back around and keep moving if nothing spawns. After door 19, you can play it safe and wait out basically every possible late flicker in a safe spot, but this can make your run take like 2 to 3 hours. If you just want the badge and don't care about having fun, or if you have something else to keep you entertained, I recommend doing it this way since it's the safest way to get the badge. However, if you want to actually have fun playing the game or just want more of a challenge, then instead you should only wait in safe spots for a few seconds or if you think a late flicker might happen soon. If there's no safe spots within walking distance and something spawns, use a sprint and run forward while praying you'll find something. Also, as a side note, if there's a candle bearer making a safe spot unsafe, just wait for the emergency lights to turn on and completely freeze it in place. When it comes to hiding somewhere, the most important distinction to make is if you're in an SS or a PSS. SS stands for Safe Spot, and PSS stands for Pandemonium Safe Spot. As the names imply, SS is safe from every node monster except for Pandemonium, while PSS is safe from every node monster including Pandemonium. Node monsters use ray casting aimed at your torso and head to determine if they kill you or not, which basically means they have to see your torso or head to kill you rather than it being proximity based. And yes, this does mean that having a skinny avatar gives you a smaller hitbox, but this only really matters in super niche cases. Most node monsters have a very small line of sight that's pretty easily avoided, but Pandemonium has a massive line of sight. It also pathfinds to you if it sees you, so it's GG's if you get spotted. If you want to find SS, look for branching pathways away from the main path. These are basically always SS. And a general rule of thumb for finding PSS is making sure you can't see the doorway or any points along the node pathway. Basically, if you can't see Pandemonium, it probably can't see you. I wanted to really highlight using furniture for PSS, since it tends to be the majority of the PSS I use. Drawers, boxes, lockers, couches, and even shelves are all great things to use for hiding. First, let's talk about couches since they're probably the easiest, even if they're probably one of the most niche pieces of furniture. All you need to do is crouch and look down, and it's a PSS. Boxes are also pretty easy like couches, just crouch and look down behind them. Some are only SS while others are PSS, and some might require you to first climb on the box to get behind it. Generally, if your body is still partially exposed, it's only SS, but you might also need to do a little trial and error. And now, let's talk about lockers. All you need to do is stand with your back against the wall next to the locker, look straight ahead, and do not hold out any items. If you think you might accidentally move your camera around and get out of position, just press escape to open the menu. Some lockers can also be SS if they're in a corner, even if you look fully exposed, but they're pretty risky, and I've heard that some people have only got them to work after making their avatar skinny. I personally have a fat avatar and got it to work before, but I've only tried it once, so attempt at your own risk. Also, for whatever reason, monsters can see through lockers underwater, so you cannot do a locker PSS if you're underwater. And next, let's talk about shelves. You need to be able to distinguish big shelves from small shelves, since small shelves are basically useless and node monsters can see right through them. However, big shelves are essentially a big wall to node monsters, and they can only see you through gaps on the shelf if there is one. To use a shelf PSS, it's basically exactly the same as a locker PSS. Back against the wall while standing next to the shelf, look straight, and don't hold out any items. If you're unsure if the shelf will work as a PSS, try covering your screen where the shelf is so you can see what the node monsters see. Also, shelves still work underwater, but it can be tricky to position yourself correctly. And finally, let's talk about drawers and desks. Not all drawers are created equally, and some can be used as a PSS while others are completely see-through. If the drawers don't go all the way to the ground, it's most likely see-through and cannot be used to hide behind. Also, extending the drawers also extends their hitboxes, which in almost every single case is beneficial and makes hiding easier. If you found some drawers that are safe to hide behind, crouch and look down in a similar way to a box. This chapter is dedicated to the Ridge, since this is easily the most stressful part of any run, despite the fact it's actually pretty short. First of all, I highly recommend waiting for Pandemonium to spawn while you sit in the first PSS. Getting a run to the Ridge isn't exactly the easiest feat, and dying to Pandemonium in a safe spot would be devastating this far into the run. However, this can take like 15 to 20 minutes if you're unlucky, so just sit tight and be patient. Once you've waited out Pandemonium, I'd also recommend waiting for one more node spawn before you actually go, so you can follow the node monster and get a couple extra seconds of free time. The Ridge is actually pretty similar to the loop in the main game, with running back to safe spots if they're nearby, but now I'd only recommend doing that if there's a really short distance to travel, because the node timer is much less forgiving in the Ridge. Also, even if you get a node spawn, make sure you wait for a timer spawn as well before moving up. If something is spawned and you don't think you can get to the last safe spot in time, use a sprint and make a run for it. These next few chapters are going to be showing off different safe spots. Note that these are only safe spots and will not keep you safe from Pandemonium. Right. If you get this kind of like corner or like wedge shaped room, if you just stand in the corner here, it's an SS, but unfortunately it's not a PSS. Okay, so right after maintenance, if you don't have anything to hide behind, you can also just hide in this little corner here, and this is SS. So in this particular room, where you have fake doors, you can just go to the fake door, and it's SS. Yeah, sometimes you can turn these into PSS if you can manage to, like, hide behind furniture or something. So, at the entrance and exit of Oxygen Gardens, you can use these areas as SS. Unfortunately, though, you do end up with things like furniture or lockers. You can never actually make it a PSS, since Pandy will always see you while it's going on this catwalk. So if you're in server farms and you see a vent that has these like pipes over it, these pipes make this vent only an SS. It's not a PSS because Pandy can see you through it. And if you find that you've crossed this bridge and then you get like a light flicker or something, then you can use this area as SS. Unfortunately though, it is not PSS and the shelf does not work. As you can see, the light from the door is clearly visible. Okay, if you come to a kind of diamond-shaped room like this, if you hide in the middle here, then it will be SS. Fun fact, if you hide all the way back here in this bunny room, this is SS. Oh, look at that. This pipe is an SS. It really looks and feels like it should be a PSS, but for some reason, it's only SS. These next few chapters are going to show off different Pandemonium safe spots. These will keep you safe from any node monster. Just make sure you avoid this gap because I think Pandy can see you through it, so move a little bit to the side. Oh boy, I get to show off! In these little corners, it's PSS if you're brave enough. In heavy containment, if you get Painter's Room, honestly you might be able to hide behind a server box. I'm not sure if that will work. Or you can just hide in his room and just hide in this corner for PSS. So this is the start of maintenance tunnels. Sometimes there's a locker here, sometimes there's just a shelf. If you have a shelf, then this is only SS, so for me this is only SS. If there is a locker there, though, then you can actually use it as PSS. Anyways, if you get this side room in maintenance tunnels, it doesn't always have a code breacher door. But in this particular case it did. But if you do get this side room, then you can use either corner to make it a PSS. Just crouch and look down like that. So if you're in a room like this in Oxygen Gardens, you might get lucky and be able to get a locker PSS out of it like this. Oh! I believe this is actually a locker PSS right here. So in Oxygen Gardens, if you get this big turret room, first of all, yes, you can walk on the grass, it's totally safe. But if you go behind these boxes, crouch and look down, and this is actually a PSS. Oh, nice. However, if you see these vents in server farms that are completely covered, these ones are PSS and they're completely safe to use. Oh, there is a shelf PSS right here. All you gotta do is just stand like that, and that is PSS. This locker as well? I think this is also PSS. So literally 2 PSS. No, 3 PSS in this room. Also crouch here. If you have this particular room with or without rubble, you can just go to this corner here, crouch and look down, and this is a PSS. You can also use the shelf as PSS. If you get room, this looks like a locker PSS right here. No shelf PSS it looks like. And this should also be a drawer PSS. So if you encountered this specific side room where the desks are diagonal, it's really hard to hide. Usually what you can do is you can actually look down and crouch behind this specific desk. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't get a PSS out of the shelves this time. If at the end of trench tunnels, if the door is that way, then you can use these shelves as PSS like this. So in this room, it's much like the other one that I had, where you can, as long as the node path is just straight ahead like that and it doesn't go upstairs, you can just crouch by this wall and look down, and that's a PSS. If it does come through here instead, if your avatar is skinny enough, you can like face forwards and then walk backwards into this little gap. My avatar is a little too fat for that though, so I can't fit there. I've heard that you can use these boxes as SS or PSS. Oh, this vent, super easy. As long as you cannot see outside of the entrance of the vent, then you are safe. So this would be unsafe, because there's a straight line of sight. This is safe within the vent though. Go over here, I'm not safe anymore, there's a direct line of sight. I guess this is a good time to say, if a side room has a window like this, node monsters can see you through it. You might be able to get away with hiding in a corner like this or something. You can also usually hide behind like a desk, because usually these rooms have desks. Sebastian's shop is a PSS as long as you stay out of line of sight of this vent. If you are in this vent, or if you are directly in the line of sight, node monsters can kill you. But if you are out of sight, like this, or you can also use this little corner here, then you're safe. So if you get this exposed puzzle room, you can actually use this shelf right here as a PSS. Well, I guess now's the time to say, at both the start and end of this specific room, and also a lot of other rooms like this where you have to like swim around, Just use this box PSS if something spawns. And once you cross over to this other side, there should be a shelf right here. And you can actually position yourself like this, and this is a PSS. Also, if the node monster is pathing upwards, like it is in this particular instance, then just go to this, just go to the fake door and just crouch, and this is PSS. However, if the node monster is pathing through the doors, then the node monster will stay downstairs, and there will usually be like a locker or a box or something that you can position yourself into a PSS like that. Ah, this room. In this specific room, you can actually use this shelf as a PSS if you crouch and look down, but you have to make sure that it's on the left side. If you're right in this middle here, node monsters can see you through this tiny gap, and if you're on the right side, then node monsters can see you because there's just not enough shelf to go around, basically. So, kind of like this little piece of metal here. So in this room, the correct door is actually right here, and then there's a fake door over there, and also over there. So, this is PSS. Okay, so if you get this big room with like windows and stuff, you can actually just go right over here, and you can use this shelf as a PSS. So if you find yourself in this particular room, then you can just hide in these little pockets right here, and they are PSS. If you have a room where there's stairs that go down, kind of in like this big square, you can go and stand right here and use this spot as a PSS. I mean, I can also show this really stupid PSS if you crouch and look down here. I don't know why, but that's a PSS for some reason. First ones that I need to show are the ones that go off the beaten path. And as long as they break line of sight, it's a PSS. Nah. Okay, well this one is unfortunately not a PSS, so I can show this off as SS or PSS, and then this should be a PSS as well, if you just look straight up. Oh, I was talking to the candlelight when I was saying Jimmy. Anyways. Yay, now I can show off that in this room, this little spot right here is a PSS. And if you're lucky enough, and the node monster is not going to pass through here, the shelf can also be a PSS. Okay, hold on. So this specific room, oh my god, there's so many squiddles. But if you come down here and you stand by the shelf, this is actually a fucking PSS right here. Yeah, there is a keycard. I like had to double check. Anyways, this pipe, if you go all the way back, is a PSS. Also, fun fact, the timer is completely paused in this room regardless of whether it's light or dark. Also, there's usually box PSS back here. Oh hey! Guess what? This is a PSS right here. If you encounter this long room, there's actually quite a few PSS and SS that you can make out of it. I believe if you stand way back against this rubble, this should be an SS. But usually you won't have to just settle for an SS. Because depending on where your door is, you can usually find something to use as cover, like desks or boxes. I'm not sure if this desk will work. There's open exposed air here. It might work. Sometimes you'll be able to go across there. And in an absolute emergency, you can just kind of fall out of bounds and you won't die. Okay, so in this room I wasn't so lucky, because the door is down here. But let's pretend that this is a fake door. If this is a fake door, then what you can do, this is a PSS, is you just crouch, look down, and your head here at this first stair. So, fun fact, node monsters do not pass through the spider cave. So as long as you're somewhere in the middle, and you can't see the doors, you are completely safe. So if you end up with a room like this, I got lucky here because as you can see the next door is right there. So I could hide right here as a PSS. I decided that since the ridge is so different, I'm going to make a different section for its hiding spots. First, here's some safe spots in the ridge. Ignoring the awful speaker that is making this SS suck a little bit. This is SS. Also looks like if I hit up against the locker that it would be a PSS, but obviously this room kind of sucks for me because of the speaker. So I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Okay, so if you see these big ramps, you can go up here for SS, but it's not PSS, it's only SS. Holy fuck, I lived. So, it's at least SS. I don't know about PSS. And now, here's some pandemonium safe spots in the ridge. You can either hide here for Pandy. I'm actually gonna hide here right now because there's an angler immediately coming my way. The other option is that you can use this little corner right here to hide from Pandy. If you're lucky enough, then the door will not path to here and you can hide behind this, but in my case, the door's right here, so it's not gonna work. If you end up with a code breacher room like this in the ridge, you can hide in this corner right here, and this is a PSS. There's literally a PSS right here. You just have to mind this gap, because node monsters can see through this gap, so literally just like crouch and eat the pillar, and that's PSS. Ooh! This PSS. With this massive fucking room. You just hide down here. It's a PSS. I don't think it'll be a close call, but just in case I'll get my sprint out. Nah. Cool. Oh, yes, this room! If you go behind this car, you crouch down here, this is PSS. Just make sure that you don't go too far back, because they can see you through that gap. And lastly, I'm going to show you a few spots that look like they're safe, but they're actually not. It would maybe be an SS, just because of distance. But this probably isn't safe. Okay. This locker would not be a PSS. It's pretty hard to tell in the darkness, but node monsters are going to be passing like right through here, and they will be able to see you from here. Okay, this does not look like a locker PSS, because you can see the stairs, so this is not safe. This is a good time to mention that if you have this specific room, let me use my flashlight to light this up. If you have this specific room, if you try to hide in this little room here, this is not safe. You might be able to get away with like using some furniture like a box or something, but if you're just out in the open, you're not safe and you will die. Okay, if you are blurst enough to receive this specific room, node monsters actually do come down these stairs, so you need to be hiding in a side room. Okay, if you're in this specific variant of the room where there's a wall here rather than rocks, this area is not a safe spot because node monsters will change their pathing to go through here. I've heard that these pipes used to be like a PSS or something, but nowadays if you try to hide behind these you will die, so don't do that. And now, since I finally have the version that dips down, I can go down here. Unsafe spot. This is not a safe spot. Do not try to use this as SS. You will die. However, if try to hide somewhere like right here that's right outside the spider cave. This is unsafe because when node monsters skip the cave, they actually teleport right here. So that's not SS, you have to be inside the cave. And that's it for my Lockerless guide. Keep in mind that even if you know absolutely everything about pressure, Lockerless is completely RNG based and you'll probably have to make several attempts before you get it. Be patient and don't get your hopes up just because a run gets far or even makes it to the ridge. Those hopes will probably get crushed, and keeping your morale high is extremely important for Lockerless. Well, that's all for this video. Angler, bless the runs. Oh shit! Ow! Bro, please tell me you got a clip of that. Let's see who our first node spawn is. People for the bit? I would do that. I cast 30 pandemoniums. Oh my god, it's actually pandemonium. Speak of it and it shall appear. Oh my god, that is so fucking funny. Ah shit, we have a node spawn. Oh, fucking hell.